Welcome to the last part of agent-based modeling of marketing simulation. In this phase, we want to run the model and we want to observe the adoption process under different settings. So in this part, we are going to use the built-in experiments of the AnyLogic, and we will see how the different settings of parameters affect the product adoption process. The disclaimer. So in this phase, which is a phase 9, we are going to run the model with varying parameters. And our objective is to observe the effect of parameters on model. So as I mentioned earlier, that AnyLogic has the built-in experiments. And in these experiments, we can enter the model parameters, we can run a simulation, and then we can compare the outputs in the charts. So for that purpose, first we have to store the data, and for that we are going to define we're going to add a dataset from the analysis palette in the main, and it is basically it stores two-dimensional xy data of type double. So we will use we want to know number of users at a particular time. Let's say we are analyzing the number of users, so we will have the number of users at a particular time, and the horizontal axis will be the time, and the vertical axis we will have the consumers, and we will use we will obtain the number of these consumers from an already defined function in the statistics. It is consumers and that dot end user. So we defined it in the video when we were dealing with the statistics. So we will take a sample of we will take 500 samples, we will update data automatically, and the recurrence time will be 1. And then we are going to make some changes in the parameters that we defined in our last video, and we are going to associate maximum waiting time and maximum delivery time with a slider control, and then we will you set the minimum and maximum value as we have done before. So we will make some changes in the value editors of parameters, and we can also change the labels if we want. And then we will use the compare and experiments, which is a built-in AnyLogic experiment, and then we will create a new experiment, and then we will compare runs, and we will add the parameters, and we will display the data in which data which we have already stored in the data set. And then we will see how when we run the experiments, how the different settings of the parameters that we are going to change with the slider, how they affect the product adoption process. We are going to run the model for 500 time units, and that's all for the steps. And let's go to the AnyLogic and see how it is actually done. So I've already opened the phase 9, and phase 9, okay, just let me just move it from the window right now and move it here. So the first phase is we have to add a data set, and for that go to the palette menu, a palette tab, and here go to the analysis, and the analysis is this one, and from here you can drag a data set to our main diagram, and we will just place it outside the canvas. We will name it as user ds, that is user data set, and let's modify the properties of this user data set. So the name is user data set, and it will use the time as the horizontal axis, and the vertical axis, that is the number of the users at any particular time. It will come from the consumers, which is the agent population, and we have defined a statistic, that is dot n user bracket, and we will keep 500 samples. For that we will keep and we will update data automatically, and the recurrence time is already default as 1 day, and we will use as it is. Okay, so now we have defined a data set. Now next thing is the change, make some changes in the defined uh, these maximum waiting time and the maximum delivery time. So I'll click on the maximum waiting time and see that this is the maximum waiting time, and we had this default value of 7 for this maximum waiting time. So what we are going to do, we are going to change its control to the slider, and we will use the same values which we defined for the sliders in our previous video. And we will, and if you remember, the value for the slider was from 2, for the waiting time is 2 and 15. Okay, so we have defined, uh, we have now changed the control of the maximum waiting time to slider from 2 to 15. Similarly, we are going to repeat this step for the maximum delivery time. So default value is 25, and we are going to change its control to slider with a minimum value of 5 as defined in the previous video, and the maximum value is 25. And yes, that's all. So we have now defined the, we have now linked these parameters with these sliders, and they have the same values. Now this maximum waiting time and maximum delivery time has the same minimum and the maximum value as the sliders we have here in the canvas. So we are done with the first part. Now I'll go back and I'll move this thing, this slide, because we have done this. And you can also change the labels, by the way, if you want. If you click on it, click here, then you can always change the label if you want. But let just leave it, leave it as it is, and go to the second part, and that is the most interesting part, and the, I think, very powerful feature in the AnyLogic is to use the to run an experiment. So we will go to the project menu. Now if you look at here, there are multiple ways uh, of creating a new experiment. If you just right click on this model name, then there is an option of new. So here, new, we want to create an experiment, so we will select an experiment here, and there are different experiments here like simulation, optimization, parameter variation. We want to do a compare run experiment, so we'll choose compare runs here. So if this option is done, now we will click next, and then there are like two parameters here which have been defined here. So we will define in the main. So we will select these two parameters, or we can select this one and press like this, or we can just press this button, and the both of them or all the options available will be moved to the selection. So click next. Now it is, we have the option of charts. How do we want to compare our output? So the type is, if you, it's a drop down menu. So we have a data set, and the we have, and now we have the chart title, and we will call it as the users. And then what is the expression for it? And the expression for it is root dot user ds. Okay, now what we have done is we have defined uh, we have the we have defined the type of the chart. We have defined the chart title, and we have also linked it with that our data set. Sorry, there's an error here. So this is it was capital S, so user.ds. So when I'll press finish here, it will open another tab for the compare runs. Okay, so you see we have another tab here for the compare runs. So I'll just go back and show you what are the remaining steps here. So in the compare run diagram, we have to change the model time to stop at 500. So I'll go back to the compare runs, and here the model time is stop time is 365 because we did it in our in some of our previous video when we were making the chart. So I'll make it as 500. So that is all for the comparison. So let's go here to the play button, and now we have two options here. The first thing is a simulation and the second is a compare runs. So let's just click the compare runs here, and it will open this window, and just maximize it. And right now we have what we have is the maximum delivery time has been set as 25 and the maximum waiting time it has been set as the 7. Okay, so I'll just play the run the experiment, and it will, you know, it will display what have the product adoption process when the maximum delivery time is 25 days and the maximum waiting time is 7 days. So here you go. Now you see this shows how the how the how the product adoption process behaves when we have maximum delivery time of 25 and the maximum waiting time of 7. So I'll just make a little bit change here, and let's say I now I have now made the delivery time it is 25, and now the waiting time has also been increased to 25. So I just run it again and see how by changing these parameters to these new values, how does this affect our product adoption process. So the experiment is running, and our output will be displayed through a line graph but of different color. So the red one was 25/7, and now for 25/15, so we will have a different curve. So it's taking some time. Okay, so it's now about to finish, and yes. So you see that when we increase the waiting time to 15, the product adoption process, the number of users, it just increased. So the adoption process was much better than the initial red line. So now let's make a change. Now the maximum waiting time is 2 days. That means we are saying that if the if the product doesn't arrive at consumer place for, let's say, after 2 days, they will go back to the potential user state. So let's see how does this parameters fare in our simulation. So as expected in the green line, you can see that it has a very drastic effect on the product adoption. So in this way you can change different you can change the values of these parameters to different settings and see their effect. uh, there is another aspect to all this discussion, and that is the optimization, but we will cover the optimization of the experiment in our different tutorials. So for now, we are done with we are done with the model with the weighting parameters. I have plotted a graph here, so when we are changing different value, when we are assigning different values to delivery time and the wait time, the the product adoption process is following a different curve. Okay, so that's all for our agent based modeling of the market simulation. Now we are going to end this tutorial right here, but in the upcoming video, what we are going to do is we are going to add market competition. That is, we will be having two companies will be having two products, A and B, and we will see how these companies compete with each other for the adoption of this product, of their product. So it will be it's going to be a very interesting, interesting scenario when we'll be having a market competition. But that would be done in the next video. And that would be because I did these tutorials in like 10, 15, 20 minutes time, to make it easier to digest. But the next video, it will be the next part where marketing competition will be done. It will be, it will be a very intense sort of video. So that's all for this tutorial. Thanks for watching and stay tuned with the channel. Thank you very much.